Right now, in your attic, behind an old wardrobe, or inside a dusty box at your local flea market, a multi-million-dollar piece of rock history could be sitting right under your nose. And the craziest part? You wouldn't even have a clue. The world of rock and roll wasn't just written with legendary songs, wild stadium concerts, or unforgettable albums. Behind this history lies a shadow world of priceless instruments that suddenly vanished into thin air, stolen, forgotten in hotel rooms, or hunted like ghosts by detectives for decades. The stories of these lost treasures, where musicians hired private investigators, mobsters dropped them into the black market, and ordinary people left them to gather dust, are sometimes even more mysterious than the music itself. Today, we are opening the ultimate lost and found bureau of rock history. From Paul McCartney to Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones to the modern day, we are tracing the incredible disappearance and return of million-dollar instruments. Get ready, because we are lifting the curtain on rock's greatest mysteries. Lean back, because after this video, you'll definitely want to go check your attic. The year is 1961. Four young, ambitious kids who have absolutely no idea they are about to shake the world are performing until dawn in the smoky, gritty, and dangerous underground clubs of Hamburg, Germany. The band's name is the Beatles. At the time, the group's bass player, Stuart Sutcliffe, makes a sudden decision to leave the band. The burden of taking over the bass duties falls squarely on the shoulders of the band's quiet and talented member, Paul McCartney. Paul walks into a small music shop in Hamburg and notices a violin-shaped, lightweight instrument in the window that is quite cheap for the time, a Hofner 500-1 bass guitar. Recalling that day, Paul would later say, "It looked symmetrical, it didn't look stupid when I flipped it upside down because I'm left-handed, and most importantly, it was cheap." From Love Me Do, She Loves You, Twist and Shout, all the way to the initial recordings of the Abbey Road album. Every single walking bass rhythm behind those early-era global hits that triggered the madness of Beatlemania came out of this exact piece of wood. For Paul, this guitar wasn't just an instrument. It was a sacred relic of the band's earliest days. However, when the calendar hits January 1969 during the final sessions for the Let It Be album, this iconic guitar completely vanishes. At the time, it was assumed that it had been stolen or simply misplaced amidst the studio chaos. Nobody knew for sure. As the Beatles broke up and years passed, this mystery haunted Paul McCartney. He became one of the wealthiest musicians on the planet, yet his mind was always stuck on that Hofner. For 50 years, Paul hired private detectives, reached out to international collectors, and offered massive rewards, but the guitar remained a total ghost. There wasn't a single trace, but the legend of the studio theft was just a distraction. The truth was far more mundane. The guitar hadn't vanished in the studio at all. As Paul moved into his solo career, the Hofner was still part of his professional gear, traveling from venue to venue with his new band, Wings. But in October 1972, during a routine transport in London, the van carrying the gear was looted. The thieves, completely oblivious to what they had taken, sold the bass for a few pounds to a local pub landlord. The landlord, thinking it was just a piece of old junk, tossed it into his attic. And there it remained for over 50 years, a legendary instrument hidden beneath dust. That was until recently, when a global group of journalists and the Hofner Company launched the Lost Bass Project. Thousands of leads poured in from all over the world, turning it into a massive detective story. And do you know where it finally ended? In the attic of an ordinary house in England. The landlord's grandchildren, upon seeing the global news, opened that old, dusty case.
A stolen guitar used to record Beatles classics like Twist and Shout has been found.
And returned to its rightful owner, Sir Paul McCartney.
The value of the instrument that came out of that box today is estimated at a staggering $13 million. For half a century, that family had unknowingly stored one of the most expensive and culturally significant instruments in the world. When Paul was finally reunited with his long-lost companion, he reportedly rejoiced like a child. But as it turns out, this Hofner wasn't the only missing piece on our list. We are now moving to that legendary breaking point that split rock history right down the middle. July 25th, 1965, the Newport Folk Festival. Standing before a massive crowd that expects him to play his usual calm, poetic, and protest songs on an acoustic guitar, the undisputed prophet of folk music steps onto the stage, Bob Dylan. But on that day, Dylan has something in his hands that absolutely nobody expects. A sunburst 1964 Fender Stratocaster plugged directly into powerful amplifiers. Dylan steps up to the microphone, hits the strings, and along with his backed-up electric band, unleashes a rock and roll performance so loud and fierce it shakes the entire festival grounds. The conservative folk audience is utterly horrified. Booze and food are hurled onto the stage. People scream, "He's a traitor. He sold out folk music." But on that day, amidst those heavy boos, folk music sheds its skin, and the foundations of modern rock music are laid. That guitar was the ultimate witness to that revolution. Yet just a few days after that historic and chaotic concert, Vic Quinto, the pilot of the small propeller airplane that Bob Dylan boarded to leave the festival grounds, goes to check the cabin after landing. Right there, left behind on one of the passenger seats, he finds a brown, hard guitar case. Opening the case, he sees that famous Fender. The pilot is an honest man. He immediately contacts Dylan's management company saying, "You left a guitar on the plane, come and get it." However, during that time, Dylan is in the middle of such immense chaos, endless touring, and intense scrutiny that nobody at the company bothers to get back to the pilot. The phone calls go completely unanswered. For the next 40 years, the guitar is left to its fate in the deepest corner of a wardrobe in that pilot's bedroom. The pilot passes away, years roll by, and in 2012 his daughter finds the box while sorting through old household items. After doing some research online, she takes the guitar to a famous American auction house for an appraisal. That is the exact moment everything changes. Bob Dylan experts are called into the studio. High-resolution photographs from the 1965 Newport concert are blown up. The wood grain patterns on the guitar's body, the microscopic cracks in the paint, and the serial numbers on the back are meticulously matched with the old photos one by one. The verdict? A flawless match. The guitar was 100% authentic. The very instrument Dylan used to kill folk and birth rock had been hidden for 40 years due to a pilot's forgetfulness. In 2013, it was sold at an auction for a whopping $965,000, nearly $1 million. A simple oversight changed a family's life forever. If we are talking about the dark side of rock history, we cannot ignore the most infamous theft of the modern era, the disappearance of Mick Taylor's 1959 Gibson Les Paul. This wasn't just a guitar, it was a ghost that haunted the Rolling Stones for over 50 years. Stolen during the chaotic, drug-fueled recording sessions for Exile on Main St. at the Villa Nellcôte in 1971, this instrument was the very voice of some of rock's most iconic riffs. After that night in France, it simply vanished into the abyss. For decades, the rock world wondered if it was destroyed or buried in a basement. The truth, however, proved to be far more complex. The guitar didn't spend 50 years in a dark attic. It spent those decades traveling through the murky, high-stakes world of international art dealing. It passed through private collections and auction houses, changing hands legally on paper while its true history remained obscured in the shadows. It wasn't until 2025 that the ghost finally materialized, not in a flea market, but in the prestigious halls of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. The revelation shocked the industry. A guitar that had been the subject of legend and search parties for half a century was suddenly sitting behind polished museum glass donated by a collector who believed they had acquired a legitimate artifact. But this wasn't a happy reunion. The discovery ignited a fierce legal battle that continues to this day. Mick Taylor, the man who played that guitar to legendary status, now faces off against the world's most powerful cultural institution. It is a clash of two worlds. One side demands justice for a theft that spanned a lifetime, while the other defends the sanctity of museum acquisitions. Unlike the forgotten Hofner or Dylan's lost Stratocaster, this guitar remains trapped. It is not waiting for a fan to find it in a dusty box. It is waiting for a court of law to decide its fate. It serves as the ultimate reminder that in the world of rock, the most valuable things are often the ones that can never truly be owned. The story of this Les Paul isn't just about a piece of wood and wire. It's a stark, ongoing lesson that sometimes, even after 50 years, the past doesn't just stay in the past. It walks into a courtroom and demands to be heard. Paul McCartney, Bob Dylan, or the Rolling Stones. None of these icons realized at the time that the instruments in their hands were anything more than simple tools of their trade. They never predicted that the objects they used to change the world would one day become the DNA of history itself. Rock history is still packed with missing legends, instruments, handwritten lyrics, and original master tapes, waiting to be unearthed in basements, storage units, or even hidden behind the polished glass of world-famous museums. These stories teach us a powerful lesson. History isn't always kept under lock and key by the powerful. Sometimes it lives in the gaps of our own memory, lost in a moment of forgetfulness, hidden in a relative's chest, or waiting to be rescued from a flea market table. Yet, as we've seen with the ongoing legal battles of rock's greatest treasures, history also carries a heavy price. Finding a piece of it isn't just about discovery. It's about understanding the legacy, the ownership, and the truth behind the strings. So, the next time you clear out a family storage space or spot a dusty, forgotten case at a swap meet, take a second look. Check the serial numbers. Look for the marks of a legend. You might just be the one to bring a lost piece of history back into the light. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows of rock and roll, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. What is the most mysterious object you've ever found tucked away in your own home? Keep your eyes open, keep searching, and until our next deep dive into the dark pages of history, take care and keep on rocking.